Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining the channel. Hope you're doing well wherever you may be. Once again, Happy New Year. Today is my 10th episode in my little mini-series called Back to Back, the greatest album pairs of all time. Before we jump into the particular band and the two wonderful albums by them, let me go over yet again, in case you're new to the channel or new to this mini-series, what are the qualifications in my humble estimation to make this list. The first is that the two albums in question must be back to back in the discography. Two, they must complement one another, or another way of saying that is they're companion albums. Four, the second one, chronologically speaking, must pick up where the previous one left off in some way or ways. Could have been a double album. And finally, both must be seminal works. So now, with no further ado, today's band is another American progressive rock band. Yesterday was Styx. Today I'm talking about Kansas. So yes, I'll be talking about Left Overture and Point of No Return. Left Overture was released in October of 1976, and I was 8 years old. I have fond memories of this album whenever I play it. My dad was a Kansas fan. He's the one who got me into them. He's no longer with me, so whenever I play it, I always have fond memories of him. In addition, it was recorded at the studio in the country in Bogalusa, Louisiana, where my mom and her mother were from. And it's about a 2 hours drive, just under 2 hour drive from here, which is a greater metropolitan New Orleans area. Liv Gren, if you're a big Kansas fan, you know that Liv Gren wrote most of the songs here, if not all of them, because Walsh was undergoing some serious writer's block, and Walsh co-authored 3 of the songs, but Liv Gren really stepped up to the plate here, and such a great work because of his input. And in a similar vein, the previous album was recorded at the studio in the country, again in Bogalusa, and for Point of No Return, they went there to start recording, but because of equipment failure, they had to hightail it to Woodland Studios in Nashville to record Point of No Return. So let's jump right into Left Overture. Interesting title for an album. It's kind of a pun, right? So as you know, the opening track is Carry On Wayward Son, that iconic song that has the to and fro between the heavy guitar riffing and the synthesizer, keyboards, piano, right? And it works. This is, I think, a pioneer song in those regards, and there's nothing else like it, even though people have tried to copycat that, right? But what's also interesting is you get some opening lyrics from Walsh, and then immediately after that, you get this brief but really cool mini guitar solo. It's unusual to have a guitar solo right off the bat, or close to right off the bat, but I like it and it works. And you get this wonderful sustain as the guitar solo is winding up, and then you get this unwinding arrangement from the instruments, and then the vocals come back in. And this is essentially a mid-tempo to heavy rocker from Kansas. It's one of their best, if not their best. And you have some soft-spoken vocals from Walsh, and then other times he's hitting those high registers, right? As you expect him to do both. The lyrics are fabulous. There's a spiritual or moralistic, but without being preachy, tone and theme to them. And the guitar solo in the song is just beautiful. It's heavy. It's just there's no right word to describe how wonderful this guitar solo, and for me it never gets old. And again, the song is about the ping-ponging or to and fro movement between the heavy guitar riffing and the keyboards. Just fabulous. Perhaps the best prog rock song of all time. Sometimes it's hard to say prog rock. And then you have an outro solo as well. So you have an intro solo, a middle guitar solo, that's the highlight of the album. The song. And then you get this outro solo, and I'm not complaining here, I love it. And of course, that outro solo begins once you hear Walsh in the high register shout, "No more," right? Just fabulous. And then the song ends with kind of an unwinding, and you hear the echoes of the piano chords, right? Just fabulous. Next is the underrated The Wall. I'm wondering if, since this came first, did this inspire Pink Floyd in any way? Who knows? But it is about overcoming obstacles we put up ourselves. And you have some extremely moving introductory guitar and other arrangements on this piece. The vocals are inspired, and the lyrics as well too, as I hinted at, the theme there. The violin, 1/3 in, is also very moving and inspiring. Robbie Steinhardt here is wonderful, perhaps some of his best violin work. His violin work in general is just amazing, but here there's something special about it. And a lot of it is special, of course. It's Robbie. This is one of my favorite emotional and emotive songs of all time. I know that there are a lot of people like it. Similar to the previous song, there's a religious, but again, without being preachy, bent to it. There's some criticizing materialism and that sort of thing. And then I love the lines of the lyrics towards the end where he says, and although it's always been with me, I must tear down the wall and let it be, to grow as a person. And so again, we think of the last song on the wall by Pink Floyd. It also makes me, as an English teacher, think of words from Ophelia in Hamlet when she says, we know who we are, but not what we may be. And that song is about becoming what we may be, a better person, right? A better self. So I love the song quite a bit, as you can tell. Next is What's On My Mind. This is a heavy rocker. It's dealing with the theme or how we relate to, or this is a song we can all relate to because it deals with the problems of being rejected by someone we're interested in romantically. Some of Walsh's best vocals. The delivery of his notes, his singing notes are just fantastic. He has some great guitar from Livgren and Rich Williams. And again, like the previous song, the theme or storyline of finding oneself. In this case, with relation to being in a relationship with someone or not being in a relationship with someone, and how both of those situations can be fulfilling or not fulfilling. And then you have the underrated Miracles Out of Nowhere. You have some interesting violin at the beginning, somber violin, and then some acoustic guitar. Robbie vocals share with Walsh, so it's a duet in part here. This is mostly Robbie though. Actually, it's alternating between Robbie and Walsh, but I think Robbie has a little bit more than Walsh. Walsh sings the chorus here. The tone is moody yet hopeful at the same time. The instrumental section in the middle is my favorite part of this piece, and you have some great heavy guitar near and at the end. That is quite good. Next is another underrated song, Opus Insert. When I was younger, I would often skip the song. Not anymore. You have this ethereal opening, and then you have this soundscape intro that follows that, and that turns and following that, it turns into an upbeat song. The song is good, but it's not great. I like the chorus the most. Once the piano enters at the 2-minute give or take mark, it's a much better song. It's richer, it's more fully developed. You have some classical arrangement sounding stuff here. And has an early, this when it picks up that classical progginess, right? It has a early Genesis vibe to it when Peter Gabriel was in a band, and it makes me think of Genesis. So I like the song. I wish there was more of that Genesis vibe going on here, but that's where I prick my ears up and wait. That's the section I wait for. Okay, the chorus is quite good, and the song comes full circle because we return to that ethereal soundscape that you get at the beginning or near the beginning, and that high-pitched organ to close out the song is just great. Next is Questions of My Childhood. You have some piano and organ and violin that are the highlights of the song. The lyrics are quite meaningful too. I love them. There's just a quick line, can you get me through these changes? So dealing with childhood and the problems that come with that. A song about love, that parents must take care of their children and that sort of thing. It's a light rocker, but a good one. You have some great guitar and violin, and the overall arrangements are a nice touch. All right. Next is another underrated song, Cheyenne Anthem, not dealing with the city in Wyoming so much as it's actually dealing with the Cheyenne native peoples of this country. You have this great acoustic intro. This is a song I love, by the way. So after you have the opening synths and keys, you have this acoustic intro bit. And as I said, it's about the native Cheyenne peoples, which foreshadows the Monolith cover in the song People of the South Wind a bit. And you have Robbie on vocals here. And then you have the switch to Walsh, with some amazing piano here, some of the best piano in prog rock and Kansas in general. Here's some prog touches that come in, just like the previous song, that are just fabulous. Violin, etc. At the 3-minute mark. And there's a section of this that I don't like. You have the circus vaudeville piano touch that I don't like, but it's not my cup of tea, and it's very brief, so that's okay. It doesn't go with the spirit of the song. It's an opposite of what I would thought a song about the native Cheyenne peoples would be. So it kind of goes against the grain in the spirit of what, but it returns to that spirit, thank goodness. And the rest of the song, as I said, returns to that lamenting of the woes of the Cheyenne peoples and the native peoples in general, the plight of the Cheyenne. And so you get, thank goodness you get that return to that spirit. The music here, once again, closing out the last minute and a half, is return to that beautiful homage and picturesque vision of the beauty of Native American culture. All right, next is the fantastic, one of my favorite songs of all time, the instrumental showcasing of the album, Magnum Opus, Latin for greatest work. Are they being arrogant here? Who knows, but it doesn't matter. I love it. I love the live version as well on Two for the Show. This is like what Yes does on Fragile, where a lot of the songs are focusing, while everyone's playing on the songs, each song in many ways is about showcasing one particular individual. They're the highlight of each of a specific song. Here, sections of each part, because there's different sections to the song. Like Father Padilla Meets the Perfect Nat is one section, right? Is a goofy title, but each section is meant to showcase one member of the band at a time, arguably. So you get this odd intro. On the live version, the violin is even creepier. That sounds that moody, dark soundscape, and then you hear this whip crashing repeatedly in a certain time frame, right? And then you get these dark, moody orchestral sounds coming in. The arrangement is really, I'm not sure if Baroque is the right word, but it's dark and it's got some hauntingness to it, if that makes sense. It reminds me of A Trip to the Underworld, and I explain, it has a Dante-esque feel, and I'll explain why in a minute, because when you get to the heavy bass section from Dave Hope, which is genius here from him, it makes me think of Geddy Lee's bass in Bytor. And so we go from, again, the weird mood, dark soundscapes, arrangement, dark orchestral sounds, to heavy bass, heavy guitar, and then xylophone, and then more of that creepy Bytor bass, right? And then you get some more guitar, which is fabulous. The heavy guitar here is amazing. And then finally, Walsh showcase. Walsh comes in vocally, very brief, and then it's gone. And his lyrics are, this foolish game, it's still the same. The notes go flying off in the air. And don't you believe it's true? The music is all for you. It's all we really got to share, because a rockin' and rollin' is only howling at the moon. And then it goes into this keyboard synthesizer solo bit, which is fantastic. I just love it. Chills, right? So Walsh is out vocally, but of course he's still playing keys and synths and that sort of thing. And so now is where you get into some really heavy progressive waters here, and I love it. You have these knick-knack sounds. I'm not sure how else to describe them. And then you get the screaming violin, which is most unlike what Robbie normally does, but I love it, and it goes well paired with the heavy guitar from Williams and Livgren. And the guitar sounds menacing, and that's why, along with the bass here, that menacing Bytor and the Snow Dog bass that we get from Geddy and Rush, it makes me think of a Descendants of Hell motif, and that's just my imagination perhaps, but I love it. And then you get the keys return at the 4-minute and 50-second mark, and these are heavy too. So everything's really heavy, almost a John Lord feel to it, if you can believe that. And Dave Hope's bass, again, is amazing. Again, and then after the keys, the heavy keys, you get some more ethereal bits, and then bubbly keys following that, and then more heavy bass. And that's a slow build-up or wind-up to the guitar solo that is just cranks at 11 or 12. And then you get the denouement, the winding down again, and it follows that. Or, so you think, because then you get some more violin, And then you get some more heavy guitar, and then you get the true denouement, the unwinding, and then the return to the original sound at the beginning. So the song comes full circle once again, and this makes me think of, we've made it through hell. Now we're into paradise, kind of like that Dante's Inferno shtick, right? So I could just be. Then the song ends. After that, return to the beginning of the song. You get a bit of fanfare from the arrangements, but this is a fantastic piece, and whether the studio, I like the live version of a tad bit more, but man, what a great song. One of the greatest instrumentals of all time in prog rock and rock and roll in general. All right, Deep Breath. Had a lot to say about that song because I like it so much. Next is Point of No Return. And of course, the title track comes first, and this is a song about the old belief that the earth was flat, and that kind of thing, and that the point of no return was once you reached the spot, you were going to fall off the earth and die. And so, you get this amazing vocals from Walsh, perhaps his best, when he cries out, your mother, she says she loves you, right? Your father, your brothers. It's just great. The violin is to and fro, not with the guitar like in Carry On Wayward Son, but now the violin is in competition or back and forth between the synthesizers, and it's great. Great vocals, great chorus, great everything. I love this song. Next is Paradox. You have some great synthesizers here. You have some great keyboard intro. The violin is fantastic. And then once Walsh begins singing I'm on Fire, you're hooked, and the chorus is fabulous. That's all I have to say, but this is a great song. A bit underrated. Next, you have the 2 minute and 5 second instrumental, The Spider. This is a nice prog rock instrumental that is very classical sounding. And the keys, the keys that come in at the 1 minute mark, or give or take, are a nice treat. And then, one of the greatest songs by Kansas of all time, the fourth song after The Spider, is Portrait, in parentheses, He Knew. I'm not sure if this is biographical or not. I have to look into that. But regardless, you have a great keyboard intro. The violin is perfect here. It's one of their best songs of all time, as I said. I think it's genius, and it's about a genius. Again, I'm not sure if it's historical, but you get from the lyrics, you get the hint or clue that this is about some historical figure, that they had figured out the secret of life, but no one understood this person. And then they died with the secret still on them and not revealed because no one understood this person. And that's the tragedy of this tale. What is the meaning of life and that sort of thing. And of course, very poetic in the sense of one of mankind's biggest fears is being misunderstood. And so that's a thematic highlight of this song as well. This is just a fabulous song. And then you have some heavy metal blues in the guitar solo here. This is fabulous. And then you have that heavy outro, right? Just what a great song. Next, you have Closet Chronicles, which is about Howard Hughes. It's a moody song. It's despairing, but it's a moving piece. And Walsh's vocals, so it's the highlight here. It's just fabulous. Next, you get, dare I say, some heavy metal vocal stylings from Robbie Steinhardt. Hard, heavy, rockin' tune. Robbie's great on vocals here. His phrasing as he sings is phenomenal. It's different from him. When he says, "I am the lightning's hand," it's just great. And then you have Walsh or Livgren are both on keys here, which is a nice treat as well. I love this song. All right, next is the song, as you know, the hit off the album, Dust in the Wind. It's a brilliant piece, acoustic number, talking about enjoying life while you can, the dangers of materialism, once again, similar to the previous album. And this is unlike anything Kansas has done before. And according to one of the many stories about how this piece came together, Livgren was just goofing around on his acoustic guitar, and his wife supposedly said, "Oh, you gotta put that on your next album." So he did, and he brought it to the band, afraid, an acoustic piece, totally acoustic, but they loved it. So, and then history was wrote. Next is the underrated Sparks of the Tempest. You got this great heavy intro, and then you get this unlike Kansas feel with this funky, soulful rhythm section Robbie's vocals again are fantastic. Then it shifts to Walsh when we get to the chorus. And I won't go into it, but the song is about issues we still face today. So we haven't grown in a way, and it's a shame. There's some bluesy guitar here. The solo is heavy and remarkable. The keys are phenomenal. And this is just an unbelievable song. I love it. Next is the sad and despairing, yet wonderful at the same time, Nobody's Home. It opens with some grandeur, right, that French word. So in grandeur, I mean, there's this great classical-like opening reminiscent of Holst, perhaps, the planets. And then it shifts to a more homely sound in the violin that's presented, that homely and pastoral sound that we know from Kansas, from Robbie's violin. It's a sad song, but it gives me chills. I just think it's fantastic. And then finally, we get to Hopelessly Human. Some nice alliteration in the title. It's, again, this song is in many ways, the beginning is the opposite of the previous. So the previous song, Nobody's Home, begins with some grandeur from classical stylings, and then it shifts to a more homely pastoral. This begins with a pastoral, homely sound, and then shifts to a more classical push with the keyboards and the guitar. Especially the keyboards are the classical part here, but the guitar kicks in, it's really cool. And Walsh is the highlight of the song, as well as the instrumental parts. Those two is what makes this song, the instrumental sections, and then Walsh's voice. Robbie sings as well. He talks about the brainstorm of youth, and then Walsh comes in at the 2-minute mark, and he has some heavy keyboards here, and the follow-up guitar to those keyboards is phenomenal. This is an underrated prog song. This is an underrated prog band because of songs like this. And then what's weird is at the end of the song, you get what sounds like Christmas bells. Either way, works for me. Love this song. Thanks for watching. Take care. Again, Happy New Year.